In this video, I will show you the most effective way to pay off your debt in 2025. This is the method that I use to pay off my student loan debt, and I figured that it would help you too, because it doesn't matter if you're earning 20k or 200k, it's likely that you've got some form of debt, whether it's credit card debt or your mortgage or your car lease. Maybe you feel like you've got more debt than you're comfortable with, or maybe you just want to understand your debt better and the interest rates that you're paying, and when you'll finally be able to clear down your debt balances. So in this video, I will take you through my 3-step process for effectively managing and tracking your debt so that you feel in complete control. I've made a template that I will guide you through, and I will leave a link to that template in the description box, and it's completely free to download so that you can use it and customize it for yourself. So here's the template. The first tab is telling us how to use the template, and then the first proper tab that we're working on is the debt tab. The orange cells are input cells. So here you want to list the name of each debt that you've got, the balance brought forward, the interest rate on that debt, the minimum payment that you need to make each month, and then the due date that minimum payment has to be made. And I've just put the 1st of January 2025 to make it easy. And then this section here is your strategy. So this is all about making the minimum payment on all of your debt balances, but then choosing one debt balance to try and pay off in full. So when deciding which debt balance to pay off first, there are a couple of different strategies that you can choose from. The first one is the debt snowball method. This method focuses on paying off the minimal amount across all of your debt balances, and then you focus on paying off in full the smallest debt balance first. The idea behind this one is that as you pay off your smallest debt balance, which should be fairly quick, you gain momentum and keep up the motivation to continue paying off all of your debt. The only problem with this method is that it doesn't factor in the interest rates on your debt. That means you could be paying off the debt balances with the lowest interest rates first. So financially, it doesn't really make sense. The second method is the debt avalanche method. So with this one, again, you pay off the minimum payments across all of your debt balances, but then you focus on paying off the debt that's got the highest interest rate first. So this is the most optimal method from a financial perspective, because you're not allowing the highest interest rate debt to compound for as long. So the debt avalanche method will save you the most interest, but it might not be as motivating because it's taking you potentially longer to pay off that debt if it's a larger debt balance. There is no perfect method, but I do prefer the debt avalanche method. So that's what I'll be using for our tutorial. So now we've got our strategy, we can put the payoff order into our input cells here. So the American Express has got the highest interest rate at 20%, so I'm going to pay that off first. Then it's my car loan, then it's my student loan, and then it's my mortgage. Okay, so I've already put in here the, these are automatic cells, so the minimum payments are being pulled through. So I need to make these minimum payments on these debt balances that are not the priority. This one here has been highlighted in pink because this is the one that I'm prioritizing. So the absolute minimum that I need to pay off is £100. Currently, this is being pulled through from a different tab, this one here, but we're going to come on to this in a minute. So this is an automated tab, but the point is, whichever debt you choose to pay off first, we're going to be paying off more than the minimum. And the work we're going to do now across all of the other spreadsheets will tell us what the maximum is that we can put towards that first debt balance that we want to pay off in full. Step 2 is the ideal budget. So now you want to think about what you think your income and expenditure should be in an ideal but realistic month. Okay, so let's move on to the next tab, which is the monthly budget. So here you want to put in what your income is each month. And this is after tax, so it's literally the number that will be shown on your payslip or on your bank account statement. You can also put other sources of income in here, so maybe you've got a rental property or maybe you've got a side hustle, but it's any regular amounts of income that you receive on a monthly basis. Now you want to go through and think about your needs-based spending. So here you want to list everything that you need to spend money on to live or that you've already committed to, like your mortgage and your car lease. These are two of the debt balances we listed out in the debt worksheet. And these have to be paid, so we've got a roof over our head and we've got a car to drive. And then we've got utilities and phone, the gym and grocery shopping. And then think about your wants. So you are paying off your debts here, but you have to be realistic, and it's unrealistic to think that you're not going to spend any money at all just because you're focusing on paying off your debts. Now, you can choose how strict you want to be with this. I've kept in a few items of discretionary expenditure because I do think that's realistic. And then we've got the totals down here. And then down here, we've got our target savings. This is basically the money that we've got left at the end of the month once all of our needs and wants have been taken care of. So this is what we are going to be ideally putting towards our debt balance that we've prioritized. But remember, this isn't an actual reflection of what we've spent. This is an ideal budget. So this is what would happen in an ideal world. So all of this is what would happen in an ideal world, but we now need to look at what is actually happening in reality. And that's when we move on to step 3, which is to look at our actual expenditure. So for this step, you need to look at what you've actually earned and spent in the last month. And to do that, you need to download your last month's bank statement. And you can usually get that either in Excel or CSV format. And that's what you want to download and save onto your laptop so that we can incorporate it into this workbook. Okay, so now we want to move along to tab 3A, month 1. We don't need to worry about this tab because it's just grayed out. This one is a summary and we'll look at that at the end. Everything's being automated here. So month 1 is the one that we now need to fill in. So down here in the spending detail section, this is where you want to paste in the detail from your bank statement that you would have downloaded. These are the typical headings that you would have on your bank statement once you've downloaded it: the date, description, value, the balance, and the categories is something that I've added in so that we can track what we're spending. And these are input cells, like you can see, because they're orange. So these are just some expenses that I've made up that you might see on your bank statement. You probably have way more. But just go through and categorize each line item so that it makes sense to you. So I'll just finish doing these here. So these tennis lessons, this is spending on kids, and that's clothes. Okay, and then what you want to do is go up to the top to this spending summary here, and you want to make sure that these categories here correspond with the categories that you've done at the bottom. So you need to make sure everything's being pulled through. And then you want to put the totals in manually as well. But we've got a filter on here. So let's finish doing the 2 categories that we haven't finished. So the kids category, the total is just 100. So let me just type that in there. And the last one was clothes. So let's just pull through the total for clothing. £240, we can see there the total, £240 spent on clothes. Okay, let's drop all of these down. So this makes sense because at the end of November, my balance carried forward was £296. And that's the total that I've got there. That's what I had left. And then that corresponds to my savings at the end of the month. So make sure that that actual savings number does correspond to the balance that's carried forward in your bank statement at the end of the month, because that's what we have to put towards paying off our debt. So now we can go along to this summary tab, and what's happening here is that everything we've just input into this tab is being automatically pulled through so that we can quickly see where we've spent money. And then we've got our savings number there, so that should equal our savings number here. And then we've got our savings rate, so we can see that we're saving around 11% of our monthly income, and that's just for our own reference. So we can hopefully make that increase over time as we monitor and control our spending and make sure that we are saving as much as possible to pay off our debt. Now, this is the number that should be pulling through to the pink cell that we spoke about right at the start of the tutorial, and it's 296. So this is the maximum amount that we can put towards paying off our high interest debt this month. So that includes the £100 minimum payment, but we're also paying off an extra £196, which is great. So at the end of the year, we'll have a remaining balance of around £4,700. Here we can see what that would look like if we continued to pay off £300 a month. We would be paying annual payments of £3,500. It would take us just less than 2 years to pay off the loan in full. And that's taking into account this interest rate here. So it will take me just less than 2 years to pay off this £5,000 debt balance on my Amex. And that's a lot longer than I want it to take because 20% is a lot of interest to be paying. So what I can do now is go back to my actuals and see where I've overspent. So clearly I didn't need to spend £240 on clothes, £50 on beauty, £100 on the house. Okay, so going into next month, I can be more mindful not to spend as much money on these things and just to be more careful so that I could get this number up to 500 or 600 and pay off that debt much quicker. So what I would do the following month is I would just go along to month 2 and I would do the exact same thing that I've just done. So I would populate the spending detail section here. I would complete my categories. I would put a filter on here and then I would put the totals at the top here and change the categories if I need to. And I'd make sure that my actual savings number corresponds to the balance carried forward at the end of the next month. And then what you can do is on your debt tab, you can make sure that this pink cell here is pulling through from the next month. And then you can see what effect that has on the years it's going to take you to repay that loan. By tracking your debt like this, you can see how long it will take you to clear down all of your debt balances, and you can see where you're potentially overspending and how you can direct more of your money towards paying off your debt. Please let me know in the comments if you use this tracker and how you get on with it. I'd love to know if it's helped you to get on top of your debt and to feel like you're more in control of your finances. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.